Several Russian armored vehicles tried to advance to approach the Ukrainian defense line. The vehicle was driven with caution, despite being equipped with full FPV anti-drone protection. On the other hand, Ukrainian troops have prepared several FPV drones to face the attack. The first FPV drone was deployed to track its target. The attack was successful. Then the next drone is sent again to ensure that the vehicle has completely stopped. First mission completed. After that, a Russian tank advanced from another direction. The tank advanced cautiously so that its movements would not be detected. Lately, we have been seeing individual mobile groups on the battlefield much more often than large columns. This is because Russia's losses are mounting. The target has been detected, and several FPV drones are already heading there, eager to deliver an unexpected reward. Russian tank drivers have begun driving their tanks differently to reduce the chances of being hit by Ukrainian drones. But he seems to have forgotten that the FPV drone dives much faster than his vehicle. So this step will not complicate the performance of Ukrainian operators. The armored tank managed to withstand the first attack and was still able to move. However, knowing this, the Ukrainian pilot immediately requested artillery group support. The shell missed slightly, causing only minor shrapnel damage, but the tank continued to move forward. Now it's time for the operator to deploy another drone. The drone's FPV attack was on target, but the Russian tank was still strong enough to defend. Attack after attack finally gave a positive result, namely destroying part of the anti-drone protection layer of the tank. The operator thought the tank had stopped and was an easy target, but no. Despite being damaged by drones and artillery, the tank was still able to continue its duties. At the last moment, the tank driver became afraid and tried to turn around to escape. But for Ukraine, destroying it has become a top priority. Although this tank is extremely powerful, and thanks to its extra armor, it can last for a very long time. For a skilled operator, there is certainly a way to destroy it. It took several explosions to finally stop it. Only the final attack completely destroyed the Russian tank. The hunt turned out to be more difficult than usual, but the results were satisfying. For the next attack, Russia deployed a larger force than before. This time, Russia divided its forces to attack Ukrainian positions from various directions. A Russian T-80 tank equipped with anti-mine equipment led the convoy to clear the way for other vehicles. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones were sent to track the movement of the column and report its coordinates to the artillery troops. After their positions were detected, the Ukrainian artillery group opened fire. However, some artillery shells appeared to miss their targets, allowing the Russian column to continue advancing. But everything changed when Ukrainian FPV drones joined the battle. The drone attacked a Russian tank and set fire to its engine. The armored group reached the city, and the damaged tank was abandoned there. That's when the Ukrainian artillery received the coordinates and opened fire. A direct hit from Ukrainian artillery completely destroyed the tank. Seeing this, the Russian soldiers fled and abandoned their vehicles. Then the FPV drone took out the vehicles one by one. After the attack, the comrades who were left behind from the Russian column became hesitant to continue advancing. After receiving several precise hits, the Russian armored vehicles immediately turned around and, without deploying their infantry, quickly began to withdraw from the battlefield. However, on their way home, they encountered FPV drones again. Not a single armored vehicle was allowed to return safely. As soon as they entered the open area, they immediately encountered a swarm of drones that quickly turned the vehicle into a pile of useless metal. Of all the failed Russian invasion attempts, this case is somewhat special. This failed operation was taken from the footage of one of the Russian soldiers. In the afternoon, a small group of Russian armored vehicles attempted to break through the Ukrainian defense lines. As the column slowly advanced among the vehicles that had been damaged by the previous attack, they were detected by a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone, which relayed coordinates to the defense forces. But the Russian column was unaware of the Ukrainian reconnaissance and continued its operation. The first problem arose as the Russian column crossed the damp road. Because the terrain had recently been hit by rain, the ground was covered in mud, and the armored vehicles slowly began to get stuck. Coincidentally, the problem occurred at a place where several damaged vehicles had previously accumulated. After realizing that Russian troops could no longer advance, Ukraine launched its offensive. The armored group came under artillery fire. Although the shells missed their positions, the soldiers' morale plummeted with fear. In a panic, Russia continued to try to get his vehicle out of the mud, but in vain. The Russian group was fortunate. They spent considerable time in the open under Ukrainian artillery fire and didn't lose a single vehicle to direct hits. However, the day wasn't a good one for the Russians either. They traveled dozens of kilometers under the cover of fog, but failed to complete the attack, only to become bogged down in mud and barbed wire. Russian forces sent even larger forces in another attack. More than 10 armored vehicles headed straight for the Ukrainian positions. The reconnaissance drone reported coordinates to the artillery, and shots were fired. It was close, but it wasn't enough. A second shot was fired. A precise hit destroyed one of the APCs. Meanwhile, the remaining Russian columns continued their attacks. But Ukrainian troops were ready for this. Several FPV drones attacked the main tank of the convoy. As a result, the road became congested. It was then that the remaining columns became easy targets for Ukrainian artillery. A precise hit from Ukrainian artillery destroyed another armored vehicle. The Russian soldiers began to panic and collide with each other. Meanwhile, vampire drones are deployed to finish off the abandoned armored vehicles. The Russian army realized that the attack had ended in disaster and began to retreat. Ukrainian drones continued to attack the Russian columns, giving them no chance to escape. The battlefield turned into a fire show as Ukrainian drones took out abandoned tanks. That's all for today. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you have any criticisms or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section.